Welcome into Rounding the Bases.
Round the bases. Everybody knows Joe Goldberg. It's around the bases. Everybody knows Joe Goldberg.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Rounding the Bases, presented by Community America Credit Union, invested in you. So excited for today's guests, not one, but two of them, a power couple. Tell you about them in just a moment. Quick shout out to my friends at Chief of Staff Kansas City. If you're in the market for a job, if you're looking for a resource, if you're looking to hire someone, you don't have to be in Kansas City, by the way, either. Check them out. I love partnering with them because of who they are, their culture, the great people, and they're always willing to help. So check them out, chiefofstaffkc.com, making connections that matter. My connection today actually comes through my friends at Chief of Staff Kansas City. And in many ways, even though the stories are totally different, have some similarities, I think, to my world in the sense of entrepreneurship and sports and kind of all these paths colliding at once. And we'll dive deeper into that. Today, I'm joined, as I mentioned, by a KC power couple whose dedication to excellence has become a uniting force for good. First up is Dulcinea Herrera, a fearless artist and a co-CEO of Cafe Corazon, the pioneering Latin coffee shop where vibrant culture and comfort intersect. I can definitely attest to that. Also joining is her husband, Christian Anderaos, a midfielder for the KC Comets Soccer Club and the founder and CEO of Playmakers Academy, where kids are taught to play like pros. Together, they don't just bring people together. They serve as a powerful reminder of the impact a community can have doing it right here in Kansas City. And I am happy right now to be joined by this amazing married couple that is doing a lot of great things. Christian, Dulcinea, thank you guys. Dulcinea, thank you so much for joining us. How are you guys?
We're doing great. And also happy birthday, because I know your birthday.
Oh, yeah, that was we're recording on May 6th, so the birthday was May 5th. So thank you. A good Cinco de Mayo birthday, which I think is just like a totally Americanized holiday that everybody says, you going for a margarita on your birthday? I'm like, no, I don't want to wait in lines, and I'm probably working anyway. But thank you guys. I appreciate that. Always fun to be able to celebrate at the baseball stadium if you got to work. Christian, you know this. If you got to work, you might as well make your office a place where you get to play a little bit, right?
That's right. I got to play this year on my birthday too. So, it's always fun. I got my birthday gift with the win. So
yeah,
I saw that it wasn't many different for you.
Yeah, it doesn't always work out that way, but you hope selfishly that it can be. I just knew that last night, I'm getting off track here a little bit, that if the birthday had a win, I was going to get completely splashed by Salvador Perez. And I would have liked it if it was maybe 10 degrees warmer, but hey, you can't be picky about these things. So anyway, let's start with this because you guys have so much going on. And, I think Christian, first and foremost, within the soccer community, people are going to say, oh yeah, that's the soccer player, but there's so much more to what you guys are doing. Tell me first off how you guys met and became, you didn't grow up in the same place. You didn't grow up in the same country. So how did you two come together?
Yeah. So
yeah,
I love that you guys are both looking at each other. Who wants to tell the story? You guys have told this many times. So Christian, if you want to start, that's fine.
Yeah. So I come from a city in Brazil that is massive. It's one of the biggest in the world. So it's a lot of people, crowd everywhere, traffic everywhere, right? Just one of those cities, São Paulo, Brazil. So Dulce, on the other hand, comes from a city where, well, it's not even a city.
No. Deep in the mountains in northern New Mexico. Like, there's maybe a town of 200, 300 people. Yeah. Very different.
So we come from completely different backgrounds, not just on the cultural aspect of it, but also, on the dynamic of the town or city. And so the way that I actually learned about Dulcinea was, through a friend of mine. His name is Mirko Trapletti. We always mention him. And we used to work together at UMKC. And, he always mentioned that he wanted to do a partnership with UMKC and Cafe Corazon. We both actually are graduates and alumni for UMKC. So, that's somehow we never saw each other on campus. UMKC, it's a big campus, of course, but we never get to see each other. So, I was kind of introduced through Mirko, and I just, started reaching out to her because a lot of friends were talking about her, how wonderful she was. Exactly.
He DM'd you, all right.
I straight ahead just DM her, and we started talking. I will say she didn't accept my invitation to go out with me on a date twice.
You gotta make him work for it.
Gotta work for it. Hey, third time's the charm, right?
Exactly. But I'm insistent. I'm persistent. So I tried the third and last time, and I finally did it, and she accepted, and it was quite a magical moment.
But let me tell this part, because this is the juicy part. So he came to pick me up for our first date at the cafe.
That's right.
In this car that was like a slingshot. It's like no windows or doors. It was really cool. But I saw him, and he got out of the car, and he had long hair at the time. And I was like, "Ooh, this man's beautiful. I hope he doesn't break my heart." So then we went on a date, and he was the most thoughtful, kind. It was the best date I've ever had.
It was my best date too.
Best first date, because we've had.
We're good. That's right.
But then the rest was history. We got married, a year and a half, 2 years later.
Yep.
It was kind of fast.
And we started seeing each other every day since then. So
yeah,
that's how it started.
I mean, that's a pretty amazing story just in itself, right? A reminder. By the way, my wife and I went. We were set up on a blind date. It's been well over 30 years ago now, and it didn't go very well. And we bumped into each other 3.5 years later, and then it started, and the rest is history. So you never know on these things, right? And it's a good thing that Christian was persistent, and good thing you made him work for it too, and all working. But you guys knew, obviously he picked you up, and there was chemistry.
Oh yeah,
there.
Absolutely,
for sure. He was the most sexy man I had gone on a date with.
And I made sure to make her comfortable. I had her pick her favorite song, so we could be having fun at this slingshot. Things like that. She had done her hair, so I had stuff to cover her hair and things like that. So
he was very thoughtful. Yes, still is.
I think it's interesting though, because it would be really easy to say here's this power couple that is in part representing the Latin American world, Latinx, and so much more, right? Sports, entrepreneurship, that, hey, they must have come here and ended up in Kansas City because of Christian soccer job or whatever it is. And it's a reminder. And I see this all the time with our Latin players. It's really easy for some of us Americans to make an assumption that everybody is the same. And just like you would assume that, maybe somebody somewhere else would assume that all Americans would be the same. And it's no, you could come from a small town like Dulcinea does with a couple hundred people, or you could come from a massive city like Christian. And I see that in our clubhouses, in our locker room in baseball. You got guys that grew up in the city, that got guys that grew up in the suburbs, in the country, in the Midwest, in the South, in the East, in the West. And then to sit there and assume that all the Venezuelans are like the Dominicans, or all Venezuelans are the same, or the Puerto Rican, they're all different, even though the cultures kind of find a way. They have to, this Christian in the locker room, they have to find a way to mesh, right? So yep. How different were the two of you coming from different backgrounds like that, coming together now, being Kansas Cityans?
Yeah, and to give a little backstory too, my mom is Argentinian descent. My dad is Mexican and native, but Argentinians and Brazilians, because Chris is from Brazil, hate each other in soccer.
Los hermanos, but in soccer.
So we were like Romeo and Juliet, Even when I wear my Argentinian jersey, he gets mad at me still to this day. But yeah, very different. But
well, that's like religion though too, right? I mean, come on. We're talking about.
That's right. Soccer is a religion for us. So you're definitely
What's gonna happen when the World Cup comes here? And Dulcinea, who do you root for? Mexico, Argentina, or both, or do you have to root for Brazil now?
I know it's hard because now I have 3 countries to root for. I mean,
and America.
Yeah, 4.
I know. True. I don't know. I guess whoever's I can't say whoever's winning. But
you can, but
we'll see.
As long as they don't play each other, she has enough teams to support. So,
I mean, Christian, I know who you're rooting for, right? You're going to be Brazil no matter what.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, Dulcinea, what do you do when Argentina and Mexico are playing. Do you have to go with your native country, Mexico?
True. So it's hard
Yeah.
because when we went to Power and Light one time and it was Argentina versus Mexico, and
Yes.
he wore the Mexico, I wore the Argentina, just to balance it, okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
No preference.
But yeah, even my parents, my mom wore Argentina, my dad wore Mexico. So,
Yeah.
That's
we'll
fun.
balance it out.
Whoever scored, we would celebrate. But of course, I
Yeah.
cannot celebrate for an Argentinian goal. I haven't got to that point yet. But, I was representing the Mexican team for sure.
By the way, how cool that the World Cup
Oof.
is coming to both of your adopted cities. Like, I'm sure that you're talking to family back at home in each place all the time, and I'm sure you're telling them, if they haven't visited, what Kansas City is like. And now here's this city in America. I don't need to tell you two this, that's the smallest World Cup host of any host in North America. How much pride is there in that for the two of you and talking to your families and your friends?
Yeah, I'm so excited. Honestly, at the time when they first started talking about it, I was an intern for Mayor Quinton Lucas. I was doing my master's still while playing for the Comets. And so it was quite fun when we started talking about the opportunities of doing it. And I could also share a little bit of the background of how the World Cup was back home when it was in Brazil. And so, it kind of felt like it was a dream that could not really come true. And then out of nowhere, we're starting to do all these plans and new airport and things like that to make it happen. And so I'm excited for the Kansas City community. I will say right here, I would actually love to make this note. We had a UMKC event where we collected all the communities, the soccer communities, and we talked about the importance of not just focusing on the World Cup, but how our advancements to that can lead into making a better community after the World Cup too. So just really want to open all of our eyes to make sure that we use the World Cup as an opportunity to grow in the moment of the World Cup, but also after that. So I'm definitely super excited for that. Excited to see all the Latin people, celebrating this beautiful moment. We're passionate about soccer. So is baseball too, but most of the countries in Latin America play soccer as their first sport. So I think it's going to be a gorgeous event. And I know that it's going to be quite beautiful to see everybody downtown.
We're super excited. And at Cafe Corazon, we're going to be doing watch parties, so many parties. Just because, we're a Latin coffee shop, but also a community-based place. So we want people from all over the world to feel very welcome when they come. So we're excited.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit more about that, because that is, just from my experience in baseball and traveling the world a little bit, that is the Latin way, right? In making people feel comfortable, in entertaining them, I just know this much, that if I am being hosted by someone of Latin American descent, I'm going to eat a lot. I mean, and I get it, like, culturally, because growing up, and this is the religious end or cultural end of religion, but growing up Jewish, like, you don't, it's like a sin to go to someone's house and not feed them, and God forbid that the mother of the house doesn't have enough food. So there's always too much. There's always going to be too much, right? And I sense that, like, when I've gone for good Cuban food in Miami with Cubans, it's like, let's order one of everything. I'm like, but there's only 3 of us, or I was lucky enough to go to Venezuelan breakfast with Salvador Perez, and he ordered like $200 worth of food for 4 people, and like we needed $30 worth of food. What is it about the Latin American culture? And I think this is probably similar, Mexico, Brazil, Argentina, that thrives, that loves on hosting, entertaining, and taking care of people. Am I overstating that, or am I right on that?
No, you're correct. I feel like it's true. If you don't eat at a Latin household, they're going to be like, how, you're not hungry? I think it's this idea of family and friendships that it encompasses is more important than, money or work. It's like your time together. It matters so much. So they want to spoil you. They want to make you feel like great, so that when you leave, you come back again.
That's right. And I would actually just making a point up to that. It's also very loud, right? Because
Yeah.
we like music, we like, talking loud to each other. And,
Drinks.
a lot of the times Dulcie, when she would see me talking to my Brazilian friends, she would be like, there are moments that I don't know if you're mad at them or if you're just really excited to talk to them. Right. So we have those type of moments where things get loud. And also, usually at Latin houses, you see a lot of kids. So they're running around,
Yeah.
they're just part of the environment. It's kind of a natural thing. You see them fall, nobody, you're just kind of, no, he's good. Yeah, it's all right. So it's kind of a free environment. So
Yeah. It's just so welcoming. It's so warm, and it's so much fun. And, I've always found like there's something about community, right? And whether your family or friends or whatever, it ends up being one big family. And so I brought that up just because, and food is such a part of it. Like I love, I've covered Salvador Perez longer than any athlete in my career now, since 2011. And when his mom's in town, she's cooking Venezuelan food at home, and oftentimes she's cooking it for all the other Latin players on the Royals or even the other team, and he's bringing that food in for those guys because it's authentic, right? I mean, it's the real deal. It's not a Cinco de Mayo margarita, that type of thing where everything is Americanized. It's the real deal. So I bring all that up just to ask a little bit more about Cafe Corazon, because and I love coffee. Okay. I just, no one can ever take that away from me. I love coffee. And so I love going on the road and finding local coffee shops. I love here in town finding new coffee shops. Now I've got a couple of my go-tos, but I told you guys before, if I'm in the city, I love to stop at Cafe Corazon, in part because there's a different vibe there. And I think a lot of that is rooted probably in your culture, right? And so I'm curious what it means to be able to share that, not just with your adopted community here in Kansas City, but to be able to open that up to the world when the World Cup comes, and to be able to be that entertainer that I just described so many families are.
Yeah, it's honestly an honor because, when me and my family started it 7 years ago, we didn't have much. We came from the mountains of New Mexico. We had like firewood to heat our house. We would hunt. We had plants to grow our food. So when we came here, we were like, well, we have to make something of us coming here. It can't just be, just a 9 to 5 job. No offense, that's a great thing, but we wanted to make something out of our culture. So we looked into the coffee industry, and we realized that most coffee is the third most imported item in the world, so it can be very unethical. So all of our coffee is ethically sourced. We pride ourselves in also all of our merch being local. And I'm excited to share that with the world because the world needs to be ready for that. I think we need to support local more. We need to support ethical. We need to support our community, and being able to also, have a place where our community thrives and that the world gets to experience is a big thing for us. So it's an honor.
So Dulcinea, tell me two questions. One, how did you end up in Kansas City? And two, what was the inspiration in starting the coffee shop, or how did this all come about? Because I tell people all the time, starting as an entrepreneur and creating a business is one of the most impossible things to do. Doing that in the restaurant industry is even more difficult. I mean, I think it's a miracle for anyone to have made it 7 years and to do what you guys have done. It's just not easy, right? There's so many dreams involved in that. And I know it all sounds good at the start, and then a lot of times you got to learn as you go. And there are a lot of challenges, and you guys have made it. So tell me how you ended up here in Kansas City, and then how you ended up starting Cafe Corazon.
Yeah, so we moved here in 2014 just for a different life, a better life. Even though living in the mountains is actually beautiful and wonderful, and I want to go back, it also doesn't have a lot of opportunity. So when we came here, we came for opportunity, and I'm blessed that we did, because when we started Cafe Corazon, there wasn't any Latin coffee shops in Kansas City. So we weren't really sure if it was going to go well. We were kind of like, I hope KC is ready for this. But I think because we're so unique, we stood out, and then people really enjoy us. So when you come to our shop, you know, it's not just coffee, it's an experience, right? Like you said, it's like we want to make you feel like you're part of a family, you're at home, and that like you're catered to, and that you have drinks and food that are different than anywhere else you're going to get in the city.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to both. First time I went a few times to the Westport location, and then more recently to the Crossroads, and you guys are expanding but there's just a different vibe, a different feel, a very warm feel in there too, between the art and the food and the music and everything. What's the feedback that you've received? Because I feel like when I walk in there, it's not just, and I wouldn't have expected it to be exclusive, only Latins. And I'm not suggesting that, but it's just a very diverse group of people every time I go in there, which I love. What's the feedback you've received?
Yeah, so I feel like we're very open to everyone, right?
Yeah.
Like everybody is welcome in our space as long as you have good energy. So the feedback we received is kind of similar to what you said. Like people enjoy that they're experiencing our culture, that they're experiencing also a part of our ancestry, because Cafe Corazon was built on our ancestors. It was built on my grandparents, my great grandparents, our traditions, the things we ate growing up, and even the things that I experienced as a child. So we just want to showcase that and have people experience that with us.
It's great. I love it. And Christian, I don't know, are you involved in any of that? Do you have time to do? Like, I think the greater question for both of you is, how do you make time? Because like,
Yeah.
I'm doing a million things, and I feel like we need a longer day than 24 hours. I haven't figured that out yet. It's a time management issue. Obviously, you got to say no to certain things. How involved are you, and how do you guys prioritize when you have so much going on in or out of soccer season?
Yep. It's definitely challenging, right? But I think the more challenges you have, the greater you turn, right? So, for example, how much I'm part of that. After this podcast right here, I have a meeting at Cafe Corazon, right? So I tend to be there most of the times, and meeting with friends, or even for just work, and so I get to watch lots of that. But the person that puts all the work, it's this person right next to me, right? My wife put all the work with all her employees and all the staff, and also with her family. I'm not yet as involved as in the work as much, maybe for some future plans that we have. But for our relationship, we just try to really prioritize ourselves, because as you said, we're very busy. And when I'm in season, I'm traveling, I'm out of town, and then I'm coming back and things like that. So it can get like our time together can get to be pretty low. So we just really try to prioritize our time together. When we try to really like share each other's schedule, and we ask stuff. But we've been able to do it well so far. So
yeah, I mean, it's hard because we are both really busy, but at the end of the day, if you love somebody, you're gonna make the time work. You're gonna find time for them. So
yep.
Couldn't be more true words, indeed. And it's not supposed to be easy, by the way, either, right? I mean, that's life, and you guys are doing it well. So when is there, like, I know this for me just as a baseball broadcaster, by the way, Christian's a broadcaster too, among the many other things that he does, but like there are, if this makes sense, there are two versions of me. There's the in-season version and the out-of-season version. I'm the same. I hope I'm the same person, but you guys are laughing. This makes sense to you. Like I want to speak every single day for my speaking business, and I want to meet with everybody I can meet. There's just not enough time to do it, right? And during baseball season, it becomes harder, but in some ways easier. It's like, I say that baseball season for me, in some ways, is easier because there are guardrails, there are boundaries that have to be set. Like, this is when I'm going to the stadium every day. This is what I have to do, and I'm not going to choose. Maybe I'll skip today's game, or maybe it just doesn't work that way. That's right. So you guys are nodding along like, yes, this makes sense. It doesn't make sense to a lot of people, because most people don't lead these like two kind of lives, right? How do you balance that? Same type of thing, Christian?
Yeah. So the main reason why we're laughing a lot about that is because, Dulce usually says that I'm a square. She really does that to me. So what that means is that I'm, extremely disciplined. Like I have time to wake up. I have a time to have my breakfast. I have a time to have my workout, And so, and when I'm in season, like I barely do anything that is like outside of soccer, like I'm just very focused on my recovery. I'm focused, on watching video for the next game so I can prepare myself to it. And that's how my experience is, right? I have to do all these things. Now from the wife's perspective, I think it gets quite interesting.
Go ahead, Dulcinea. Let's get your perspective. That's the only one that matters. So
right.
So there's Chris in season, and then there's party Chris. I feel like he doesn't actually party a lot. He's very disciplined, but there are moments when like he'll do maybe like 2 weekends of the year that are the off season weekends where he's like, I'm just gonna have fun because he's been so disciplined. So he just needs a spurt of like fun for the night. And then he's like the type of Chris that is jumping on the table. He's like dancing everywhere. He's like a totally different human being. And and I love party Chris. When he comes out, I'm like, I gotta be ready because because I'm gonna enjoy party Chris for the time. But yeah, I mean, he's super disciplined, and actually something I really like about him, even though I call him a square.
That's right.
That's so funny. Before I get to my baseball theme questions, I want to talk about all of your other work, Christian, as well with the Playmaker Academy. And so you're busy nonstop. Tell me about that and what you're doing with it.
Yeah. So, Playmakers Soccer Academy was founded by 2 Brazilians. So I'm one of them. The other one is my teammate and best friend, Rian Marques. We're both from Brazil. And so we just bring that fun, Brazilian style into play for Playmakers. So basically, we just create fun games where kids can, understand more about the game without really knowing like, oh, I'm having to go around the cone, coach. No, it's all fun. It's engaging. Either you are an animal chasing another animal, or you're just playing some of the games that we play back home. But also, Playmaker now is taking another step that it goes beyond soccer, and that's based on my background in sports performance. So I have a decade of experience in that. That's what I studied in college was sports science, and I try to bring a little bit of that discipline that we were talking about. About recovery, about stretches, about workouts, strength, power. I try to bring all that for the kids in also a very fun way, right? So instead of you just doing a plank, now you're doing a crocodile plank, right? Things like that. So just making it very engaging for them to, exercise, understand the importance of working out, the importance of staying healthy, the importance of resting, sleeping well, eating healthy. So, Playmaker is just a connection of all those. For the people that want to go to soccer, they have that path. For the people that want to play other sports but want to learn how they can perform better, we also have those. So, it's an all year round work, and I just absolutely love it because they're the next generation. Yeah. And, if we empower these kids and we make them, understand that the world is all one, we all support each other, we're all part of the same planet, and ways that they can take care of themselves so they can help others, then our mission is accomplished, right? So that's our focus of every day, is just inspiring these kids to be, not just better athletes, but, better people, better humans. And so we're focusing all that at Playmakers. So
it's kind of cool too. I mean, it seems to me like the spirit of Playmakers and what you're trying to teach those kids, and very much from your Brazilian background of having fun. But it feels to me like that's the spirit of the coffee shop as well. It's the spirit of everything you guys are doing. And so I'm curious, Dulcinea, like how much everything ties together for you, even if they're not the same thing, right? Like they might be different elements in different places and they may not all be together, but is there a common theme or a tie to it?
You mean to me and my husband, or to?
Yeah, just with all of your endeavors. I mean, it just seems to me like there's a similar spirit to all of it, even if they're not totally connected.
Yeah, I think so. Like me and him, although we're very different, like I'm an artist and we're both similar in entrepreneurship, but he's an athlete, I'm an artist. But yet still, like even in my paintings or him in his coaching and his playing, there is that idea of like, like the grind of let's get it done. Let's showcase who we are. Let's be very authentic in that as well. And also be super welcoming and open to feedback and opinions and and care for other people as well.
Yeah.
Like at the cafe, it's like making people feel good, comfortable, nourishing them. He's the same, but with coaching and playing. So
And I think bringing our story too, right? So,
yeah, that's true.
her story goes beyond her, right? As she was saying about her ancestry and us too. We just try to bring our story with us, our backgrounds, how it is, a part of the planet in the other side, how we can, you guys have fun with that here,
Yeah.
So
It's got to be just so much purpose though to what you're doing.
absolutely.
And I mean, I say this all the time, like you guys, me as well, we're living in a world with jobs that are not your normal jobs. I mean, like there are only so many people that get to play soccer professionally for a living. I'm not one of them, by the way, too. My career ended after high school. But there also aren't that many people that get to talk about baseball on TV every single day. And so like we're living this really unique world. And Dulcinea, same for you too. I mean, again, how many people have opened a Latin coffee shop in Kansas City that, oh, by the way, you're an artist and everything else that comes with it too. And then when you have that purpose and you wake up every day, whether it's the kids or the community, how fulfilling is that for both of you?
Oh, for me, when I see a kid, just come in and be like, "Coach, soccer practice was so fun. I loved it." And that for me, it's again your day. If you can make that kid, if you can make them smile, if you can they enjoy it, that for me fulfills everything. That's what we were doing it for, right? So for me, it can go from a simple smile from the kid to celebrating a goal with thousands of fans at Cable W Arena, and just going wild with them. My fulfillment can go so many different ways. Getting home and sharing a moment with love with my wife, right? Watching something together or something like that. So, it goes from family to friends to communities. Just sharing those moments to me, it means everything.
Yeah. I think similar for me too. Like it's really nice when someone comes to the cafe and they're like, "Man, thank you so much for representing my culture." Or, "Wow, I didn't know this. I just learned something." I mean, we've had people like come in and we have a thing where you can read our story on the wall and people cry. I remember the first time I was like, "What? Is it like that emotional?" Wow. But that was so cool. I felt very honored that someone cried over that, So I think it's lovely. It's lovely. And we do a lot with the community, non-for-profits. We do non-for-profit work. All of our art in the cafe alternates and it's all local artists. Whatever they get commission on, we don't take a commission at all. Like they just make their money on their art. So we love to do things like that and live music. It's just nice to bring life to a space.
Yes.
I think that's really the thing. And even at home, like we try to do that at home for each other as well. It's important. So yeah.
Really cool. Really, really good stuff. Okay, let's get to the baseball themed questions. And they're not baseball related, although I look at this. See, you guys are ready. Is that is a Mike Moustakis bobblehead?
Vamos.
And by the way, I wanted to bring this up because me and my husband were talking about it. So you had interviewed me like when I was 16.
What?
Yes, it was a long time ago at a Royals game. The theme was dress as 1950s, and me and my parents dressed as 1950s, and you interviewed us. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's so full circle."
Yes.
10
Come
years.
full circle.
Yeah.
How many years ago was that?
10 to 11, maybe.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm lucky if I remember yesterday, but anyway, that's because I just had another birthday. Come on, that is so cool. I mean, obviously, you guys, you guys like the Royals. You got the bobblehead and all of that, but it's not a baseball question really. For both of you together, individually, what has been professionally the biggest home run that you guys have hit?
Wow.
You go ahead. That's a hard one.
That's a hard one.
Man.
I would probably say just our traveling. traveling together, I think that was the biggest home run that we could achieve for ourselves, in our relationship. And I would say mainly because, we get to explore, see different things. We got to spend time with my family back home. She got a taste of, Argentina too, and her family back home, which is awesome. Being around her heritage, her ancestry. And so I would probably say that was the biggest home run as a couple that we achieved together. Now, if you want to bring another perspective, I think that they would probably appreciate that.
I think another home run as a couple would have been, we got married. That was a
yeah,
cool,
that's a good one.
Yeah. And yeah, traveling. We'd like to travel a lot together. I'm glad I found my person, and he likes to go do a bunch of things like me. So
yeah.
But outside of life, in our personal lives, I would just say, as you were saying, I think we're creating a sense of belonging for the people in our community, and I think that's quite a home run to hit. And for me, it's I think it's more meaningful because I come from another place, and so when we come here, sometimes we can feel lonely, and having a place where we can feel at home means everything. So
yeah, that's great. I mean, it is home now, right? And you guys are doing so much with it. How about a swing and a miss along the way? Not that first DM attempt, by the way. That was a swing and a miss.
Right.
Twice, 3 strikes and you're out. It worked out. So. But a swing and a miss, I don't know, maybe in business, entrepreneurship, I mean, there are always a lot of swings and misses, or maybe it's in soccer. I don't know. What's a swing and a miss, and what did you learn from it?
Oh, man. There's been so many. I mean, that's part of success, is you got to fail a lot to get what you want, the failure is actually good because you learn from it. But I would say for me, I guess with the cafe, I think our second location, which is our Crossroads location, it actually took us 2 years to open, though we were supposed to open right away. But that was just because COVID had happened. And I think that was also a swing and a miss, is like COVID is hard on businesses. And we were so lucky and blessed that our community really supported us during that time. But, we had to make a lot of mistakes to finally get that place open.
Yeah. It's a beautiful spot now. I mean, it's, we only see the finished product, but I know that there's a lot of, all the other stuff that goes into it. Okay. The last baseball themed question I love to ask everybody is small ball. What are the little things for each of you that make you successful? I mean, in sports, we see that all the time, Christian, because no one sees the work that's put in the gym. No one sees the work that's put in looking at all the video. They're not supposed to, by the way, either, right? They need to see what happens when you get in between the lines. To me, small ball is everything else. Or even it could be within the game. Like I was talking recently, the Royals won a game in extra innings back in Detroit. It was actually starting a good winning streak after losing a lot. And they did so scoring a run in extra innings without ever getting a hit, by just doing the little things that don't show up in the box score, that don't show up on the sales sheet or the stat sheet. What is small ball to both of you?
That's right. I think you really touched on the point. It's the work that I do on my own behind the scenes, that people don't really see it, right? So me, after I come back here from a match, instead of, going out or something like that, sometimes celebrating a win, I like coming here with my friends. And actually, while they're sitting on the couch or something, I am laying down on a mat. And Dulce can attest to that, right? And I'm doing foam roller and I'm stretching as I'm talking to everybody, right? So that's kind of my own time, But that's just one of the things I would say, like all the healthy stuff that we eat, and the cooking time that we spend to prepare those meals. I think it really goes beyond. And also another thing, right? A lot of the guys on the team say that I'm a grandpa because I go to bed at like 9 p.m., right? But that's just because it's my disciplines. That's the way I am. And I like to wake up early. So then my day gets, longer. I can do more workouts. And so I would say that the little balls are very important for that reason, for, the, that you do that people are not seeing. I think that's the main key. And actually making a point to, the missing swings that we're talking about. I think that you should be proud of yourself every time you make a mistake, because you're trying to do something, And so if for any reason you're missing one, you're just getting closer to hit another one, right? So every time you miss, you're getting closer to hit another one. And I think that that should be the mentality. For me, there's actually no failure. That can be like, maybe something could be a little better, or, you know, could have been done a different way. And that's how I try to treat things. And that's how I actually try to teach my kids as well. You know, when a playmaker, I try to always tell them like, hey, here's the moment for you to make mistakes. And I want you to make as many as possible, because every mistake you make, you're closer to making a better action. So that's a little bit on my end.
Yeah, I think the little things are the big things, actually. Man, we do a lot of little things. I think even as a business owner, people glamorize it, but it's really not that glamorous, right? There's so much hard work, sleepless nights, waking up in the middle of the night like, oh, I forgot to do this. That happens at 3 a.m. sometimes, you know. But I think really something that set me and him apart, and which has helped us, is the organization of things. You gotta really be a little bit OCD about your organization if you want things to work. But also at the same time, it's that the pendulum swing of like having a lot of fun. You still need to have a lot of fun in life, because the more joy you give yourself, the more joy you'll be able to swing back when you are organizing or working. There has to be, I wouldn't even say a balance, because I think balance is bull sometimes.
Yeah.
There's no such thing really, but it's kind of going back and forth.
Yeah, I get it all. And I think it's the never-ending quest for balance, right? You never quite find it. By the way, if you're listening, I'm just going to say right now that there was a great Dulcinea eye roll when I said the never-ending quest for balance. I think that was your when my wife, by the way, rolls her eyes at me, it's because I said something stupid. But in this case, I think that you were agreeing to the fact that it never, ever, I didn't take it the wrong way, but it was an acknowledgement of like, it never stops, right? And especially when you have so many, I'll use sports on this, so many balls in play, it's not just one thing. And so you're all over the place. We've talked about that. We hear so much about work-life balance. So I want to wrap it up with 4 final quick questions as we round the bases. I'm going to start, Dulcinea, with you, because you referenced growing up with not a lot of people around, in the woods, and now here you are running these businesses, and not just running businesses, making an impact in the community, and very, very involved. So 2-part question. 1, can you paint a picture of what that was like growing up around nothing? Because I'm not sure that people fully understand that. I don't. And 2, what were your, I mean, I just wrote the book, Small Ball, Big Dreams, but what were your dreams as a kid growing up in the woods of New Mexico or whatever? I don't know that it could have been this, could it?
Well, so yeah, growing up, to paint you a picture, there's 200 miles of national forest behind our house. So nobody lives there, like just animals and trees and plants. But it was really peaceful. I'm so blessed I actually had that experience. Although it was very different than most people's, I was able to connect with nature and earth so much so that I think it grounded me. That still, when I go outside, I'm like, oh, I feel like at ease. There's a peace that comes from that you can't get from anywhere else. Only nature can give you that peace. So that was really wonderful. Also being indigenous, we did a lot of indigenous culture. We lived like indigenous, like our ancestors did. So I'm also blessed to have that, you know. We had an outhouse. I hope I don't paint that picture too much, but things like that. It was very simple but wonderful. There is a spot I go to in New Mexico that's very special. And as a kid, I would sit there and I would like meditate and look at the mountains. And I would imagine myself as a businesswoman. It was really interesting. I would imagine myself in a white suit, like going up an elevator. I don't know why I had that vision, but now look, I'm not wearing white today, but I am a businesswoman, and I think yeah, he got me. But I do think that there was some truth to what I saw when I was a child.
So cool. What a great story. And you know, look, we live in a world now where people are starting to focus more on being present and meditation, and it sounds like you had that right from the beginning as a kid. Christian, you know, that's a big part of sports as well. How about for you? Second question, growing up in Brazil, was it to play soccer? Was it to be the next great Pele or Ronaldo, or we could list off, every great Brazilian. I mean, it's life there, right? So what were your dreams growing up?
Wow. Me as a kid, very energetic kid, living in an extremely intense city, right? As I mentioned before, the dreams are always there, right? You see those guys playing on TV and you're just like, wow, like I want to be there, I want to live this moment, celebrating goals with everybody, and when you're practicing like me on my own, nobody watching, I'm here trying to take a free kick and I'm imagining last minute goal. If he scores, they win the World Cup, like doing those little things. Those were moments that I just had it as a child. And then, living these moments right here and, with the Kansas City Comets fans, which are the best fans in the league. That's just common sense for everybody, right? It's been truly a blessing. And also, coming from a third world country to a powerhouse like America, it was quite a transition. I had to make a lot of adaptations, and I think that that's why I kind of fit in that square right there, because I kind of had to set up boundaries for myself if I really wanted to succeed. And so has been nothing but a dream actually coming true. And that little kid, I think that when he looks up forward here, never imagined that it would be right here, but now it's definitely a proud kid and happy to keep embracing this life of a professional athlete, business owner, and then husband too.
So great. It's amazing stuff. All right, two final ones. The third question as we round the bases. Dulcinea, I'll ask you this one, and I know it's important to both of you, but you talked about your background. You talked about the feel, the vibe, the inclusivity of Cafe Corazon, and I know how active you are in the community, supporting everyone. And I'm just curious about the importance of that to you, and how much of that is where you came from, and now trying to make an impact in a bigger community, in welcoming everyone. To me, it's one of the most important pieces in this world right now, and in a very complicated and challenging world and challenging time where it feels like more people aren't getting along and understanding each other. And it seems to me like you're trying to bridge that divide. Has that always been a part of you?
Yeah, I was taught as a child that we're all connected, we're all one, like it should be love, right? So I really believe that, like in my deepest core. So whatever I do in my life is not just going to be for me. Of course, I love myself and there will be things for me, but I believe that as a collective, we need to come together and love each other as people. I don't believe in war. I don't believe in hate. I really don't. So it's important to me, will always be important to me. And I think for the rest of my life, I know I'm going to want to do something with that. And it might change over time, but it's always going to be that core belief.
Yeah, it's beautiful, and that'll that'll be a part of you, both of you guys, forever, which is an amazing thing. Okay, the last question, that really should have been the last one, because that's a great way to end. But with the two of you and everything you've done and all the work you've put in and all the education and the business and the workouts and the modeling, I mean, I haven't even scratched the surface on everything that you guys do. What's next, or what's the big giant dream now? Because you guys, to me, are just getting started. Chris, I'll start with you, or Dulcinea, you can go either way. What's the big vision?
The grand big vision, my very first one, is to win a championship with the Kansas City Comets. Mm-hmm. I want to bring this joy to this city that welcomed me and offered me everything that I possibly could ask for. I love Kansas City. It's a sports town. We can go from the Chiefs to the Kansas City Current that I do the broadcasting for in Portuguese. And then, from the Comets to right here, there's, fun guys from the Royals too. So, I think that that's one of my biggest dreams for sure at the moment, is bringing this joy to Kansas City. As a husband and family right here, I think eventually, my biggest dream is to be a dad, and then having a child. I think that that's something that I would love to experience, and then I would just say that for the community wise, showing that the world is way bigger than just here. Right. And main reason why I say that, I had a group of kids that I took them to Sweden. So, with soccer. So they got to play the Youth World Cup it has, 1,800 teams, 72 different nations, and they got to see every single people from all over the world, right? So they got to see different cultures, different beliefs, different religions, and things like that. So I think it was a beautiful, eye-opening experience for them to understand that we might be different, but in the end of the day, we all live in the same place. So those are some of my biggest dreams.
Yeah.
Dulcinea?
I would say dreams wouldn't even be the word. It would be like things that are gonna happen, right? Because I like to speak things in existence. So for us, more travel,
Yes.
children eventually, just living a happy life together, being always honest and loving with each other. And then for the cafe, since we're opening our 3rd location and a warehouse soon, it's just evolving that more. We'll have more wholesale coffee products to distribute. So if anybody's listening and they want coffee products,
Yeah.
But and then for me on a personal level, well, I love art, and one of my dreams is to get my art into the Nelson. So Nelson, if you're also watching, but I'm ready to start expanding that part of me and honestly just enjoying life. I'm here to just have a good time.
Yeah. And actually,
it.
before, I know that we will be rounding up right here, but I know that you're partners with Community America, and so am I. So I wanted to thank them, for introducing us.
Yeah.
Honored to be here with you right now. You interviewed Dulce 10 years ago, so it's been that long that we
Full circle.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
That we stay apart, and I'm even wearing this jersey with their sponsors right
Yeah.
here. So
Well,
we just wanted to thank them for that opportunity, and we got to go to the Royals game at their beautiful suite. So all that was all
yeah.
them. So very thankful for this experience.
Well, they're great people. You guys both know that, and I know it sounds like, oh, we're talking about the sponsor. They don't even with me use that word. It's more partnership is what they say, and so I love everything that I do with them. I know you guys could speak for that too, and it's nice because they never, in the years of partnering with me on this podcast, they've never told me you have to do this. We want you to do that. They just leave me alone. But I always say to them, if you have anybody I really should meet, let me know. And they said, we want you to meet Christian and Dulcinea. So, and that's been, by the way, this has been in the works for a long time, because between the 3 of us, like, how do you get all 3 of us in the same place at the same time? So it finally happened. I'm inviting myself to meet you guys at Cafe Corazon at some point, so we could spend a little time face to face. I don't know if that's rude or not to invite myself, but I'm doing it anyway. And I encourage everybody else to go to Cafe Corazon too. That's my plug on that one. But Christian, Dulcinea, thank you guys so much for spending the time today, for all you're doing in the community. Continued success. Good luck next season as well. And thanks for spending time on Rounding the Bases.
Thank you. We
Thank
had
you
so
so
much.
much. Yes, it was an honor for us. Really appreciate the time, and this was so fun. And hope to have the next one live.
Yes, I love it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much, Joe.
See you.
Go Bird. It's around the bases. Everybody knows Joe Go Bird.